In the Mahāsatipatthāna Sutta, Buddha said that the practice of mindfulness is the only way to purify our minds. The only way to overcome sorrow and lamentation, to overcome pain and grief, to reach the noble path and to realize Nibbana, namely the four foundations of mindfulness. Here also we have the words foundation, Patthāna and mindfulness Sati. First, let us understand what is mindfulness. You all yogis have been practicing mindfulness for many times, but sometimes when you are asked what is mindfulness, you may not be able to give a satisfactory answer. Mindfulness is the translation of the Pali word Sati. The discourse is called Satipatthāna. So you have the word Sati there. This Sati is translated as mindfulness. Maybe there is no better words for it. Sati literally means remembering, but it covers more than remembering actually. Etymologically, Sati means remembering, but in normal usage, Sati means more than that. Sati is defined in the commentary as remembering, and its characteristic is said to be non-wobbling, apilapana lakkhana, Sati. That means not floating on the surface. If it is Sati, it must not be superficial. It must go deep into the object instead of just floating on the surface. That is why teacher always say full awareness of the object or thorough awareness of the object. Sati is said to have the function of not losing the object, asamosa rasa. As long as there is Sati or mindfulness, you do not lose that object, you do not forget that object. Mindfulness has the function of not losing the object, not forgetting the object. It is like a guard at the gate. So that is what we call mindfulness. Mindfulness is not superficial awareness. It is a deep and thorough awareness of the object. Foundations of mindfulness means actually setting up of mindfulness or firmly established mindfulness or mindfulness firmly established. The Pali word Satipatthāna is translated as foundations of mindfulness, but we must understand that it means setting up of a firm mindfulness or establishing a firm mindfulness. So the practice of establishing firm mindfulness is called the foundations of mindfulness. In this Satipatthāna Sutta, Buddha said that there are four foundations of mindfulness. When you practice vipassana meditation at a retreat, you practice all these four foundations of mindfulness, but you practice them choicelessly and not one after another in the order given in the discourse. That is because when you practice vipassana meditation, you have to be mindful of the object at the present moment. You cannot afford not to be mindful of the object at the present moment. The object at the present moment can be any one of these four, sometimes body, abdomen or leg or head, sometimes feeling, pleasant or unpleasant or neutral, sometimes consciousness, thinking or remembering, etc. Sometimes Dhamma objects, liking or disliking, etc. You have to take these objects as they come. You have no choice. That is why sometimes vipassana meditation is called choiceless awareness. That means we have no choice. We just have to take what is presented to us. So we practice these four foundations of mindfulness choicelessly when we practice vipassana meditation. Here in the summary, the Buddha taught us how to practice the four foundations of mindfulness. So what are the four? Herein, a monk meditators was contemplating the body in the body, ardent, clearly comprehending and mindful, overcoming or removing covetousness and grief in the world. It is a very short sentence, but it has many meanings, very deep. Kaye kaya nupasi viharati. Yogi dwell contemplating the body in the body. That means when you practice mindfulness of the body, you are precise. You contemplate the body in the body. You do not contemplate the feeling in the body. You really capture the body in the body. You do not contemplate the person in the body, and so on. You contemplate the body in the body. In order to have a precise object, Buddha repeated the words Kaye Kayanupasi, Vedanasi Vedananupasi, Chete Chetanupasi, Dhammesu Dhammanupasi. Buddha repeated the words body, feeling, consciousness, and Dhamma in these sentences. So that means yogi is precise in your mindfulness of the body, feelings, consciousness, and the Dhammas. When you practice body contemplation, you are ardent, you are clearly comprehending, and you are mindful. How to be mindful? Buddha said, Atapi. With regard to the word ardent, we do not know what other meanings it carries in English. This word is the translation of the Pali word Atapi. Sometimes we lose something when we translate from one language to another. The word Atapi comes from the word Atapa, Atapa means heat of the sun. Heat of the sun can heat up things so that things become withered and they may even burn. So in the same way, your effort heats up the mental defilements or burns them up. Burning, desire, attachment, anger, depression, worry, etc. All kinds of kilesa can be burnt. So it is called Atapa in Pali. And the yogi who has Atapa is called Atapi. The E denoting possession. So yogi who possesses Atapa is called Atapi. When we read the Sutta in Pali, or when we read the word Atapi, we have that in our mind. We see the effort burning up the mental defilements. When you translate this word into English as ardent, you lose that image. So Atapi means you make real effort, not a slack effort. You make a real effort to be mindful and to clearly comprehend. When Bodhisattva sat down under the Bodhi tree to practice to become the Buddha, he made a very firm resolution in his mind. May my skin, sinews, and bones remain, and may my flesh and blood dry up, but I will not desist from, or I will not give up this superhuman effort until I reach Buddhahood. I will not get up from this seat until I reach Buddhahood. I will make effort, every effort to achieve my aim. Such an effort is called the right effort. So to make the right effort means you have to make a really good effort, not a slackening effort. This is what Atapi implies, all these meanings. You are putting effort all the time to be mindful. The right effort to be understood here is the right effort. That is one of the 8 factors of the path. You may have read about right effort in other statements. Right effort means to remove unwholesome mental state or to avoid unwholesome mental states and to acquire and cultivate wholesome mental states. In order to resist unwholesome mental states, in order to resist evil, we need mental effort. If we do not make effort, we cannot remove evil. Effort is very useful in resisting or removing unwholesome mental states and also to cultivate wholesome mental states. To develop wholesome mental states, we need effort. If we do not make effort, we do not come here. If we do not want to make effort, we do not go to a retreat at all. So we need a real strong effort to practice the foundations of mindfulness. Here also Buddha described the meditator as being ardent, which means you have the kinds of effort that burns up your mental defilements, desire, attachment, anger, depression, worry, jealousy, etc. It is indicated by the word Atapi in the Pali text. Then Buddha said, Atapi Sambhajano Satima. Sambhajano, clearly comprehending. Clearly comprehending means clearly seeing whatever object you put your mind on, you see it clearly. What does clearly mean? You see it thoroughly. You see it with wisdom. When you concentrate on abdominal movement, for instance, you see the movement clearly. You see the rising movement distantly from the falling movement, the falling movement distantly from the rising movement. And also you see the movement arises and disappear. And then at the moment, they are only the movement and the awareness of the movement. No other things to be called a person or an individual. Such understanding is called clear comprehension. When you have clear comprehension about something, you know that things and all its aspects, and also according to the teaching of the Buddha, you know that there are just the object observed, aramana, and the mind that observe, aramanika. Aramana and aramanika, object and the mind that observe. And there is none other which you could call a person or an individual, a man or a woman. You clearly see only mind and matter, aramana and aramanika. Seeing in this way is called clear comprehension. This clear comprehension will come only after some time, not right at the beginning. You practice mindfulness, but right at the beginning, you may not even see the abdomen clearly. Sometimes they are mixed together and very vague. Little by little, with the growth of your concentration and practice, you will see the objects, you will see the mind and matter more and more clearly. And then also they are arising and disappearing and so on. So this clear comprehension comes not right at the beginning, but after you have gained some experience. In order for this clear comprehension to arise, we need one more thing, although it is not mentioned in this discourse. We need one more thing. What is that? That is concentration. Without concentration, clear comprehension cannot come. What is concentration? Concentration is a mental state which gives the components of mind squarely on the object and does not let them go to other objects. That is what we call concentration. It is usually described as the mind being able to be on an object for a long period of time. For example, if you take the abdomen as an object, your mind is always on the abdomen movement, and the mind does not go anywhere else. That is what we call concentration. Actually, at every moment, also the mental factors, which is called concentration, keeps your mind and its components unifying on the object. It keeps them together and does not let them go to another object. This concentration is essential for clear comprehension to arise. Without this concentration, we cannot hope to see mind and matter clearly. We cannot hope to get clear comprehension. When you get concentration, your mind comes down and becomes quiet, and that is the time when you begin to see mind and matter clearly. It is like, let's say, water. At first there is dirt or mud in the water, and so you cannot see through the water. But when the dirt or mud settles down, the water becomes clear, you can see through it. So mind needs to be like the water, settle, because there are many dirt or many mental defilements in our mind. So long as our minds are contaminated by mental defilements, we cannot see things clearly, we cannot see mind and matter clearly. So we need to suppress these mental defilements, which are called mental hindrances. Sensual desire, ill will, restlessness and remorse, doubt, etc. Mental hindrances settle down so that you can see clearly. When you get concentration, you will be able to keep mental hindrances settled. When the mental hindrances are subdued or settled, your mind becomes clear, and it is the time when clear comprehension or the true knowledge of the things arises. In order to get clear comprehension, we need concentration. And concentration is not mentioned here, but we must take it that concentration is also included in our practice. Because without concentration, we cannot get clear comprehension. Sometimes some words may be left out, but we have to understand them as mentioned through inference. Let's say there is a flat rock and a hunter is following a deer, and he sees footprints on one side, but on the flat rock itself, he does not see any footprints. And again, he sees the footprints on the other side. So from this, the hunter infers that the deer must have run across the flat rock. He sees the beginning and he sees the end of the footprints. So he infers the middle, that the deer must have run on the rock. In the same way, here, to be mindful is the beginning, and clear comprehension is something like the end. So when these two are mentioned, the middle is also virtually mentioned, because without the middle, without the concentration, there can be no clear comprehension. Then the last words here is satima, mindful. Mindfulness is put last here because mindfulness is put last here, but actually in practice, mindfulness should come after ardent. You make effort, so you have mindfulness. You have mindfulness, so you have concentration, and concentration leads to clear comprehension. So you have mindfulness here, but we have already defined mindfulness, so we do not need to define mindfulness again. So how to practice? To dwell contemplating the body in the body. You practice the foundations of mindfulness on your body, being ardent, making true effort, being mindful, and being thoroughly aware of the object, and having concentration and clear comprehension. So we'll continue tomorrow. We have to stop our discuss for today. By practicing Satipatthāna Vipassana meditation, by observing every phenomena occurring at the six senses, by noting rising, falling, sitting, stretching, walking, standing, lying, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, continuously and diligently. May all yogis be liberated from all suffering. May all meditators realize the real peace in the very near future.